All right. Hello again to everyone. I'm Jasmine Black. I'm one of the enrollment specialists for McKendree Worldwide, and I'm back again doing another video in our series today featuring our very own Neil Quisenberry. Hello, Dr. Quisenberry. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jasmine?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Good, good.
Thanks for taking the time, out of your busy schedule to chat with me and our worldwide family today. I know we appreciate it.
Sure, I'm glad to do it.
Awesome. Well, of course, we are conducting this interview remotely as McKendree does its part to flatten the curve. So if you're ready, we'll get started.
Absolutely, I'm ready.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the programs you oversee for the university?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Neil Quisenberry, and I have been at McKendree for 17 years. My background is in criminology, and I am the senior faculty member of the criminal justice program at McKendree. And I have another colleague, Dr. Stephen Hagan, and he and I run that program. And my background is, I said criminology, but I did sociology at Western Kentucky University. And then I did sociology, my master's degree at University of South Florida. And then I did my PhD at the University of Kentucky in criminology and started at McKendree in 2003.
Wow. Okay. So that means, let me do that math. 17 years
That
working
is
for the university, huh?
That's exactly right. I'm finishing my 17th year.
Awesome. Okay. So what brought you to McKendree then?
So when I was at the University of Kentucky, my last year, I guess 2002, and I was teaching classes at University of Kentucky, and I was also teaching classes at McKendree, I'm sorry, at Transylvania University, which is in Lexington.
Okay.
And I was teaching classes in both locations. And my classes at University of Kentucky had 300 students in each class.
Oh,
And my
wow.
classes at Transylvania had maybe 15 to 20 students in each class. And
Big difference.
I decided right then and there that I really wanted to teach at a small university. And I started putting out um, applications to universities. And the only schools that I applied to were very small universities like McKendree. And when I interviewed at McKendree, I decided it was a really good fit for me. And I really liked being there. And I've been there ever since.
Well, that's awesome. I know we're definitely happy that we've had you all this time.
Oh, thank you.
So, how have you adjusted your lessons and kind of your teaching style, since we've had to make all these changes due to COVID?
Yeah, it's been quite an adjustment. And one of the things I tell, the students will say it's been an adjustment. And one of the things that I say is that, well, it's been a real adjustment for all of us, for faculty and students. And so I guess the biggest adjustment has just been communicating by email, as opposed to being able to do some face-to-face. Um, the other thing is, since we don't really get to go out, and we don't get to do as much. One of the things, for example, is I have 5 interns this semester doing internships at various locations, and all of those locations shut down. So having to find alternative things for my interns to do also. So it's been pretty rough on the students. It's been rough on us, but we're definitely making do. It's amazing how you'll rise to the occasion and do what you need to do, to keep things moving along.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think we've been, doing a good job at trying to stay connected and utilize the technology that we have, to make the best of a not ideal situation. So I
Absolutely.
know I'm sure your students, and I know I do appreciate your willingness and your adaptability to kind of make changes during these times. So
Absolutely. And and we realize that it's hard on the students. It's been hard on us. And so I think we sort of have the mentality, we're all in this together. We don't need to panic. We'll get through it. Hopefully very soon, things will start to get back to normal again.
absolutely. Well, so tell me a little bit about how you incorporate kind of real world experiences, both into the classroom and into your lessons.
Yeah, so real world experience is really important for what we do, particularly for the criminal justice field. I'm sure it is for every field. But one of the things we do is we call it a scholar practitioner model, where we have uh, myself and Dr. Hagen, for example, will teach the classes like the theoretical classes. I teach the research methods classes. I teach criminological theory. I teach the juvenile delinquency. I teach the deviant behavior, but I also teach theory and research methods. And Dr. Hagen teaches, he'll teach deviance and he'll teach juvenile delinquency. I'll teach introduction to criminal justice sometimes. But what we typically do, Jasmine, is we try to have people who are in the fields teach, for example, intro to criminal justice. I have either a police officer who teaches for us, the chief of police in Lebanon, Illinois, or I have a judge, retired judge from Clinton County. He'll teach that class. Sometimes I'll have um, a, a man who used to be a U.S. probation officer. He has since retired, and he'll teach like a corrections class. So some of the classes are taught by those of us, who don't have any policing experience, and we teach the more theoretical based classes, while we have practitioners in the field who teach those more applied types of classes.
That makes sense. Yeah. So just playing to everybody's strengths.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think that's awesome.
Trying to give the students a really well-rounded education. For example, one of the things that the students absolutely love if they take well, every student will have to take intro to criminal justice. And one of the things they love is when they take Chief Roth or Judge Middendorf, when they take those classes, they love hearing the stories that those guys will tell about their years, in policing. I can't tell any of those types of stories. I don't have any stories like that. So it's great to have people in the field teaching those classes who really do know from firsthand experience what they're talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you kind of listed a few of the different courses that those that end up taking our criminal justice program will take. But what would you say some of our most interesting programs or courses are within the program?
Yeah, yeah. We have several, and so for example, everyone starts off with the Cornerstone Introduction to Criminal Justice class. And then they move on with, we have, for example, social problems. And things like social problems is a really good class, but it varies from semester to semester. It depends on sort of what's going on in the world right now. Obviously, we know what will be talked about in the next few, maybe the few years after the pandemic, what we'll be talking about. Then we have uh, uh, what's called Police and Urban Society, which we have one of our former police officers, actually he's a current police officer, chief of police in Lebanon. He'll teach that, which is current issues going on, police with policing. And then we have correctional institutions, which I'll have either our former student who is in corrections, or we'll have our U.S. probation officer teach those classes. And then the other thing is, if we have at least 7 students who would like to have a specific course customized to just what they're interested in, whether it be on terrorism, just depends on whatever the topic is, we can put that into effect pretty fast. And we'll have someone who that's their specialty. We'll have someone teach that particular class. Again, it's just one of those things that we're able to do at a small university. If students have a real interest in a particular topic, we'll try to come up with something to meet their interest.
Gotcha. So yeah. Would you say that's definitely something that makes us unique when you compare us to other universities? Just that ability to be able to do that.
Absolutely, 100%. Because we're such a small university, we can make changes so quickly. The other thing we have, which is just great, and I've never seen it at another university, we have a designation for special topics classes. And so at any point, again, if we have students who want to have a particular class, like we had students, on campus who wanted to have a class essentially to teach them how to apply for law school and what the process was involved in applying for law school. And we were able to put that together for the next semester. And we had our Judge Middendorf taught that and brought in law school admissions counselors from schools to, to help the students. So that's something that's definitely really unique about our program, is that we have that designation special topics, and we can fill it with basically whatever we want, whatever the students want, and we can have it in place by the very next semester.
That's super neat. I love it.
Yeah,
so tell me about, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that's something that's really hard to do at a larger university, to be able to put something like that together that fast. But being a small university, and in my department, there's 4 of us, so we can do things pretty fast.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so tell me about some of the fun projects that some of your students have done during your tenure. I know I'm sure you've seen a lot of them, but some, the more recent ones.
Yeah, we have students. So I've been here 17 years, and we've had students who've done just about every type of project you can think about. And for example, and students can choose whatever project they want for their senior thesis, so they're not really limited by what they want to do. And I always tell students, because it's a 2-semester class, that they need to pick something that they're really interested in, that they really want to know about, because they're going to spend 2 semesters doing the research. We call it Soc 496, which is the research proposal where they write up what they're going to do. And then Soc 498 is the next semester, where they actually do what they said they were going to do in the previous semester. And so students will do things like, for some reason, students are really fascinated by drugs and alcohol, and crime and convictions, and, those types of things. And so the project can typically they'll look at the different factors that can predict criminality or conviction, or essentially the things like family income, family support, parental education, parental pressure. They look at things like it asks questions like, essentially, how involved are your parents in your education? How much support do they provide? Those types of things. And then the outcomes they look at can be anything from drugs, alcohol, GPA, convictions, how far in school they anticipate they'll go, sort of their career aspirations. So a lot of those, they're looking at family background, also social background, number of friendships, peers who are involved in criminal activities, and how those kinds of things will predict that individual's criminal activity or lack thereof.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd be interested to see kind of how those numbers, change or evolve with everything that's going on right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I've been saying for the last few weeks, we'll have enough material now for maybe the rest of my career, I don't know, of things to talk about. I know sociologists and criminologists just will have a wealth of things to research and to talk about, given all of the things that have happened over the last, I guess since January.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not really research on this because we've never really dealt with this. I mean, at least not in our lifetime to have these kind of impacts on us. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, the nerd in me is definitely kind of excited to see, what comes from it. So
Absolutely. I'm sure there are a lot of scholars in sociology and criminology who are, really excited about getting involved. Not excited about the pandemic, but getting excited about doing the research about some of the effects of that. For example, the alcohol consumption has gone way up.
yeah.
Crime has actually gone down, whereas domestic assaults have gone up. So the kinds of things you would anticipate by us being isolated and quarantined and all those types of things. So we probably won't know for a year or so the results of those types of studies, but I guarantee you those will be coming out, rapidly.
Oh, I'm sure we'll keep our eye out.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm sure you keep up with some of your former students. Where have some of, our criminal justice worldwide alum gone off to do, or things that they're up to now?
Right. Yeah. We have students who have gone pretty much to anywhere you can think of that they would go. We have students who work at the local level. We have students who work in whether it be behavioral, mental health counseling. We have students who work in juvenile facilities. We have students who work in the juvenile court system, the adult court system, local policing, state policing, and federal criminal justice positions, whether it be DEA or FBI. Have one student who's Secret Service. So we have students in just a variety of positions. We have I have two worldwide students right now who are already employed with the Illinois Department of Corrections, and they're going back to school to finish their degree. And having a degree is so important, particularly within criminal justice, because in order to move up the ranks, and also salaries are determined in large part by what degrees people have. So even students, worldwide students who already are employed will come back and be working on their degree.
That makes sense. Well, that's great. So I feel like I probably already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is your favorite part about working at McKendree?
Yeah, it's a good question, and and it's an easy answer, and that is the students really are what the reason you go into teaching. It's not to get rich, obviously. It's because you really enjoy the interaction with the students, and you really feel like hopefully you're making a difference in people, in their lives, and their careers, their livelihood. The other thing is you always want to feel like that you're preparing students for what they're going to be doing in the future. So, for example, if they're going to be in corrections, they're going to have a corrections class that's going to deal with, the good, bad, and the ugly of being in corrections. Um, our students are required to take a race and ethnic relations class because I think a lot of students, particularly maybe from, Southern Illinois in this area, haven't had a lot of experience dealing with urban areas and particularly minorities in urban areas. And so, if nothing else, they're going to get a little bit of experience, maybe not firsthand, but they're going to get at least a class that's going to help them understand some of those issues. And then one of the other things that we really push, Jasmine, and that is internships. If you think you're going to go into a career of criminal justice, you really need to get out there and spend some time in the field to make sure that's something that you really like.
That makes sense. And that's good that you encourage the students to do that. I mean, that coupled with, real world experience and kind of really embracing uh, just, I feel like these overall competencies that you kind of need to really be out there in the workforce, that coupled with the theory and the actual classes, I think is what really makes you successful, in whatever field you choose to go into.
Absolutely. I have a student who just she's finishing her. In fact, so she's finishing her research methods. She's online, and she's finishing her research methods, but she actually had to finish it early because, as a matter of fact, starting today, she was starting the police academy in
Oh, wow.
Wisconsin.
Oh,
And
wow.
so she had to finish the class a little bit early in order to get started with the police academy. And for us, that's the most important thing. So even though she had to finish the class a couple of weeks early, I felt that that was way more important for her to be able to start the police academy than it was to spend 2 more weeks in my class.
And that's really cool, that you see it that way. I think, not all universities or all faculty members for that matter, are that willing or that invested, into their students to not only see them succeed, in their career, their field, but also educationally. So that's
Absolutely.
kudos to you.
Well, that's the end goal for a lot of our students. maybe for all of our students, that's the end goal, to end up with a really good job, you know, in the field. And so she already had that opportunity. It meant that she needed to start today. She went ahead and she did the work. She finished up her class. You know, she just finished it early so that she could go ahead and start the police academy today. And I was just so excited for her. And, you know, again, that's what we're hoping for all of our students. So, of course, if she has that opportunity to either start the police academy today or spend 2 more weeks finishing up the class, I would much rather for her to be able to go ahead and start that today. And she did.
That's awesome. Well, do you have any other words of wisdom for anyone out there thinking about applying for our criminal justice program?
Absolutely. One of the things that's happening right now, and it's really could be considered good or bad, but the opportunities for people with degrees in criminal justice are just really good right now, and that is because through retirement, people are always either retiring or they're changing. People who are in local positions maybe try to move to state or federal positions, and so that leaves openings at the local level. People at the state level, of course, they would like to, you know, if possible, move to the federal level, and then lots of people retire. And so right now the career outlook is really good. For example, the Illinois State Police, I think they're down 80 officers right now, so they're trying to hire. The Federal Bureau of Prisons is down officers, and so they're trying to fast track officers right now to get more people in. And some of the local departments have emailed me and said they're down officers also. So the career outlook right now for people with degrees in criminal justice is really good, and that's what we like to hear.
Absolutely. Always get to be able to get a job when you get out of school, right?
And, you know, it's interesting because if you look at departments across the country, again, whether it be local, state, or federal, if you look at the percentage of people who have their bachelor's degree and even going on to their master's degree, even better. But pay grades are based on levels of education. Of course, you know, military experience, if you have that, that's really important. Also, that really is helpful. But for most people who don't have military experience, then the next thing that will really help them in their career is that degree.
Gotcha. Well, awesome. That's great words of advice. So, I mean, great information in general. Loving our criminal justice program. So if there's anybody out there that's interested, then clearly Dr. Quisenberry is a wealth of knowledge. So
and I'm available, Jasmine, with my information, you know, Neil Quisenberry. It's pnquisenberry at McKendree.edu. I'm also listed, you know, if you look on the website under criminal justice, you'll find me. If you look at, you know, our program, I'm listed in several places, and I'm always happy to talk to anyone who has any questions about the program. There are other people, the admissions counselors. There are a lot of people who are just, you know, ready to talk about our program.
absolutely. Well, thank you for your time and chatting with me and our Bearcat family. And shout out to all those tuning in and checking our videos out. So just keep an eye out for the next video in the series. We'll be continuing to do this in the weeks coming. And then as always, I am sending safe and healthy wishes to you and yours. So until next time, thanks.
Thanks, Jasmine.
You're welcome.